So let's look at some example dApps. So I already mentioned the first example I want to give you is a game. And in fact, there are many games. I kind of encourage you to look at this site called dApp Review that looks at all sorts of dApps that have been posted out there, all sorts of games and various prediction markets and business logics that have been posted. But this game is kind of incredible in that, first of all, it's an extremely well-designed game, very, very clever. But to me, it's more than a game. To me, it's basically a way to manage crypto assets. It just so happens that the crypto asset is what's called a kitty. Yeah. So what happens here is you send Ether to the CryptoKitties game, and as a result, you basically it's recorded that you own a particular cat. Yeah. So this is what these cats look like. Every cat is different. You own your cat, and you remember the cat now belongs to you, and no one can take it away from you unless they have your secret key. Yeah. So there's a bit of a description here about how these kitties work. You can actually breed the kitty with other kitties. Then you get offsprings, and then you can sell the offsprings to other people. So in fact, when you buy these kitties, you can kind of interact with other players. So it's kind of a fun game to illustrate how crypto assets operate. But again, it's an example of storing an asset on the blockchain. In this case, it just happens to be a digital description of a cat. But it's there, it's yours, and no one can take it away from you. And the interesting thing is, even if the company disappears, even if CryptoKitties as a company no longer exists, it doesn't matter. The dApp is on the blockchain. The dApp is going to continue operating. Your kitty belongs to you. You can continue trading it using the blockchain and so on and so forth. Yeah. So this is kind of the beauty of these dApps. Even though somebody wrote the code and they might disappear or lose interest, it doesn't matter. The code is posted on a blockchain and it's going to run forever. The other thing to remember, which I say again and again and again, the data is public, which means that, in fact, third parties can build on top of the game. And in fact, there's a site called Kitty Battles where I can take the kitty that I own and I can race it against a kitty that you own and see who wins. There's a site called Kitty Hats where you can buy hats for your kitty. And those are separate dApps. Yeah, so it's one dApp that uses data that belongs to another dApp, but because the data is public, there's nothing preventing one dApp from, in fact, building on the data of another dApp. And so you can build these add-on products that people might want to buy and store. And again, once you buy a hat, it's yours forever and no one can take it away from you. So maybe this looks a little silly to you, but once you play with it, you'll kind of realize, there's something different about playing these games than playing like regular games on that are off the blockchain. And just to show you that this thing is real, let me mention that when CryptoKitties launched, there was a huge spike in the number of transactions in the Ethereum blockchain. As I said, this is implemented as a smart contract, as a dApp on the Ethereum blockchain. You can see here, in the first couple of days that it launched, there was massive investment from a lot of people in buying kitties. So it's a game that people really kind of enjoy playing with, and owning and then trading. And in fact, even when you look now, there's constantly transactions happening on the Ethereum blockchain related to crypto exchanges. Yeah. So in fact, as I said, you can look at the site's dApp review and it'll show you all the transactions that happen on a daily basis, and there are many transactions on a daily basis related to CryptoKitties. Quite fascinating. But there are lots of other examples of dApps that have been equally successful. In fact, lots of business logic has been encoded as dApps. So for example, there are prediction markets. Like if you want to have a contract about the price of Bitcoin relative to the price of Ethereum, you can have a contract about that, basically transact with other people in that sense. So Augur is a prediction markets dApp devoted to this. There are stable coins implemented as a dApp. So for example, pegged to the US dollar. So you can look at some of how these stable coins work. And there are many of these business logic applications encoded as dApps. The question you always need to ask is, why do we need to put this on the blockchain? Is the blockchain the right mechanism for the dApp that I want to build? And so in some cases the answer is no, and in some cases the answer is yes. In particular, if you do decide to put a dApp on the blockchain, business logic on the blockchain, what it means is that the business logic itself is enforced by the blockchain protocol. So again, the miners are the ones that are enforcing the business logic. So the rules in the code are followed correctly and they can never be changed. And moreover, you get transparency. So in fact, there's no need to trust third parties. Everyone can look on the blockchain and make sure that the rules are followed correctly. Now, I should caveat this a little bit in that, in fact, there is a mechanism by which you can change the code if you decide that your old code needs to be updated. In fact, there is a way that the owner can update the code that implements a particular dApp. But all of that is going to be completely transparent. So it'll show on the blockchain that the code was changed from one version to another version, and both versions are going to be available for the public to inspect. So everything is transparent, everything is verifiable, and the code has to be run the way it was written. That's basically enforced by the miners. Okay, so that's kind of the interesting aspect of putting business logic on the blockchain.